All right, everybody, buckle up. We're diving into the world of FactSet today.
Yeah, the financial data giants.
And we've got their 10Ks, their annual reports from the past few years.
Oh, juicy. It's like getting a peek behind the curtain.
Exactly. And they have to be transparent in these, legally speaking, so no sugarcoating. We're going to figure out where FactSet is and where they might be headed.
Love it. Lay it on me.
So one thing they emphasize a lot is this ASV, annual subscription value. Sounds like jargon, but
it's crucial.
right, it's the core of their business model.
Think of it like their lifeblood, that steady stream of income from subscriptions year after year, and they're really pushing its growth, even breaking it down by client type, which is interesting.
Speaking of clients, they're obviously proud of their client retention over 95%. That's going to be tough to pull off in such a competitive field.
It is. It shows they're doing something right to keep those clients happy, but even they're not shying away from potential risks to that.
Ooh, like what? Come on, spill the beans.
Well, competition for one. They're upfront about facing pressure from smaller players with cheaper alternatives.
Makes sense. The little guys can be nimble.
Exactly. And get this, they're even worried about cost cutting within financial services itself, which could impact what they can charge.
Wow, so they're strategizing way ahead of time. Smart.
Mhm.
So competition's one thing, but what else is keeping them up at night?
Cybersecurity, for sure. They dedicate a ton of space in the 10Ks to that.
Right, with all that data they handle, they're a prime target.
Exactly. A breach could be devastating, so they're taking it seriously.
And they even mentioned outages, which is kind
Uh-huh.
of scary in their line of work.
Totally. Even a brief disruption, whether it's a cyber attack, system failure, or even a natural disaster, could make clients jump ship.
So they're dealing with competition, cybersecurity threats, and they're also trying to expand internationally. Isn't that like really risky?
It's a balancing act for sure. Big growth potential globally, but tons of hurdles. Different regulations in every country, managing a global workforce.
Adapting to different markets.
It's a lot to juggle, but they did make some acquisitions, right?
They did. Try to mitigate those risks, I guess.
Right. And those acquisitions are like puzzle pieces, showing their overall plan. They're really proud of the CUSIP Global Services deal, even call it their biggest ever.
CUSIP Global Services.
Oh.
Wait, why does that ring a bell?
They provide those unique codes for financial instruments crucial for trading and data management. Basically, FactSet is solidifying their hold on the backbone of the financial information world.
Okay, that's a power move if I've ever heard one.
Uh-huh.
So they're aware of their strengths and their weaknesses, playing both offense and defense.
Exactly. They're not just providing the tools for the financial gold rush. They know the landscape can shift at any moment. And the details they share, the risks they're highlighting.
Shows they're not naive. They're playing the long game. So what really stood out to you in all of this, your aha moment?
Honestly, it's subtle, but they mention shifting to a hybrid work environment.
Interesting. Seems like a small detail.
It is, but I think it speaks volumes about how they see the future of work in finance and how they'll attract top talent. It's a little clue to a much bigger shift.
I like it. Like we're uncovering these hidden messages about their future. Okay, so we're back and ready to dig deeper into FactSet. One thing that jumped out at me is how they talk about their clients. It's not just one big happy customer base, right?
Nope, not at all. They've got this whole system for segmenting clients, and it's pretty revealing, actually.
Like what? Give us the rundown.
Well, they talk about the buy side, the sell side, wealth management, even corporations. And get this understanding, these different groups is key to understanding FactSet's game plan.
Okay, so break it down for us. Who are all these different players and why does it matter?
All right, imagine you're in the financial world, right? On one side, you've got the buy side. Think big institutional investors, mutual funds, hedge funds, pension funds, the big dogs.
The ones managing mountains of money.
You got it. And they need data to make those smart investment decisions, right?
So that's where FactSet swoops in, giving them the tools to analyze markets and manage those portfolios.
Bingo. And here's the kicker. FactSet's betting big on these guys. They generate the lion's share of FactSet's ASV. Remember that recurring revenue we talked about?
Yeah, they're bread and butter.
Exactly. So that tells you where their priorities lie.
Makes sense. But then you got the other side of the coin, the sell side, right?
Right. Investment banks, brokers, the ones helping companies go public, raise capital, all that jazz.
Oh, the deal makers.
You got it. And they need a different kind of data. They're advising clients on mergers and acquisitions, issuing stocks and bonds. They need the inside scoop on companies, industries, the whole 9 yards.
So FactSet is like their secret weapon, arming them with the intel they need to make those big moves.
Precisely. And then there's wealth management, which is a whole other ball game.
Right. That's us regular folks who need help planning for retirement, investing wisely.
Exactly. And FactSet's realizing what a massive market that is. More and more people need financial guidance these days.
Makes sense. So FactSet's giving those wealth managers the tools to give personalized recommendations. Smart move. But they also mentioned something about corporate clients, which threw me for a loop. I thought they only dealt with the financial world.
It's interesting, right? They're branching out. They see potential in providing their data and tools to corporations themselves. Companies need to track their own financial performance, see what their competitors are up to. It's all valuable info.
So they're not afraid to think outside the box, expand their horizons.
Exactly. And by diversifying their client base, they're spreading the risk, tapping into new growth areas. It's a long-term strategy.
I'm seeing a pattern here. They're very intentional about how they run their business. And speaking of intentional, they talked a lot about their acquisitions. We covered CSIP Global Services, but there's also Cobalt and True Value Labs. What's the story there?
Right. Think of these acquisitions as clues. Each one tells us a little bit more about where FactSet's headed. Like Cobalt, for example. They're a big deal in the world of private capital.
Wait, private capital, so beyond the stock market.
Exactly. FactSet's recognizing the growing importance of private markets, venture capital, private equity, you name it. And they want in on the action.
Interesting. And what about True Value Labs? What do they bring to the table?
This one is really fascinating. They specialize in something called ESG data.
ESG rings a bell. It's everywhere these days.
Exactly. Environmental, social, and governance factors. Measuring a company's impact on the world, how sustainable their practices are.
Right. It's not just about profits anymore. It's about purpose, too. And investors are paying attention.
Big time. And FactSet's ahead of the curve on this one. By snapping up True Value Labs, they're positioning themselves as leaders in the ESG data space, giving clients the insights they need to make more sustainable investment choices.
So it's like they're building this financial data empire, piece by piece, always staying one step ahead of the trends. But they're also realistic about the challenges, right? They dedicated a good chunk of those 10Ks to talking about the risks they face.
Absolutely. They're not shying away from the tough stuff. They know that with great power comes great responsibility and a whole lot of things that could go wrong.
So what are some of the biggest threats they see on the horizon? We talked about competition and cybersecurity, but what else keeps them up at night?
Well, they're very aware of the economy. A downturn could definitely impact their business. When budgets get tight, even essential subscriptions might get cut.
Makes sense. Data is important, but it's not like water or electricity. You can live without it for a bit if you have to. What else?
Regulation is a big one, especially around data privacy. Remember, data is their lifeblood. Any new laws restricting how they collect, use, or share data could really throw a wrench in the works.
So they're paying close attention to how data privacy laws are evolving. It's like a chess game, always thinking several moves ahead.
Right. They're not just reacting to change, they're trying to anticipate it, even shape it. They're actively working with regulators, advocating for policies that make sense for the industry.
Sounds like they're not afraid to get their hands a little dirty, fight for what they believe in.
Absolutely. They're active players in the global financial system, not just bystanders.
And it shows. They're playing to win. And that proactive strategic thinking is clear in everything they do, from their client base to their acquisitions to how they assess risk.
They're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
Now that's impressive. And we're back for one last deep dive into FactSet. We've covered their business model, their clients, their plans for the future, even what worries them.
It's amazing what you can find in these 10Ks.
Right. Like a treasure map, but for financial data. And I think we've got a few more treasures to uncover. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. We've only scratched the surface.
Okay, now you got me curious. What kind of hidden gems are we talking about?
Well, one thing that struck me was their focus on open architecture. They use that term a lot. It's a big part of how they see themselves in the market.
Open architecture, so they're not trying to lock clients into their own little ecosystem.
Exactly. They're smart enough to know that financial pros use a ton of different tools and platforms. FactSet wants to play nice with others, basically.
Makes sense. Why force people to choose when you can integrate?
Right. Flexibility and smooth communication between systems are key in finance. When you need information, you need it now. And FactSet gets that.
It's like they're saying, we're so good, we're not afraid of a little competition.
Exactly. And that actually reflects a larger trend, you know? The days of closed systems are fading. It's all about open platforms now, sharing information seamlessly.
It's the future. And speaking of cool tech, they mentioned a content refinery, which sounds kind of mysterious.
Ah, that's the heart of the operation. Their secret sauce. They take tons of raw data from all over and clean it, standardize it, turn it into something usable. It's a massive task, but that's where they really shine.
So they're not just delivering data, they're curating it, refining it.
Exactly. They add value by making sense of it all. Ensuring accuracy and reliability, that's what clients are paying for.
Like a chef, they take raw ingredients and turn them into a five-star meal.
I like that analogy. They're not just handing you a bag of flour, they're giving you a perfectly baked cake.
And they're not afraid to try new recipes either. They talked about a lot of new products and features. They're not just resting on their laurels.
Not at all. Innovation is in their blood. Always developing new tools, new functionality, AI, machine learning, data visualization. Always looking for the cutting edge.
Always evolving to stay ahead of the game.
You got it. The financial world changes fast, and they're changing with it, trying new things, pushing boundaries.
That's what leaders do, especially in a field like this where technology moves so quickly.
It's true. And it's not just about tech either. They're thinking about the bigger picture, sustainability, social impact, all of that.
Right. Their commitment to ESG, not just in the data they provide, but how they run their business too.
They're walking the walk, reducing their environmental impact, promoting diversity. They're taking it seriously.
It's great to see a company focused on more than just profit. They're thinking long-term about their impact on the world.
And that matters to investors these days. It's not just about financial returns. It's about values.
Well said. We've covered so much ground today, it's amazing to think it all came from these 10Ks.
Right. It shows how much information is hidden in plain sight.
It's like we've been on a treasure hunt, using these reports as our map.
And we found some real gems along the way.
That's the best part of these deep dives. It's not about getting all the answers, it's about asking the right questions.
Exactly. And never stop being curious, right?
Couldn't agree more. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of FactSet. We hope you enjoyed the ride.
Until next time, happy exploring.
From the Deep Dive team, thanks for listening.